Hey now, OmniDogs and OmniKittens. Welcome to OmniDog's Vault and say hello to Fangirl Fariha. Hey, Fangirl Fariha,
Hi.
who is going to help me review War of Kings.
Yes, it has been a long time coming because we should have been done with this whole series in June and we're in July, which is not bad if you think about it.
It's a pretty big book, and
Yeah,
we had a couple of hiccups, just a couple of hiccups, but we managed to get through it.
yes. And here
And
we are in new format.
sorry, yeah, that's right. We had to do StreamYard now because Google Hangouts is leaving. And so now we're doing StreamYard, which I think I have managed to figure out now. And I've made all my mistakes elsewhere, and now everything's fine.
Yes, and I'm really enjoying it. So one of the things I did have to do though, get a new webcam. So that's why it's looking nicer
Oh,
because
wow.
my webcam in my computer was not dealing well with this.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I
Huh.
don't know why. But so the new webcam I think is a little bit improved. Let me know if you see it terrible. Then I'm gonna have to go back in and check other things.
No, you look fine.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good.
I probably need a new webcam. I've just got my regular old computer camera. I could probably use lighting and a web camera, but I think at this point in my life, it's lighting and camera, everything. That's not going to help me. I'm
And the
past.
thing is that if you do it too professional, then you kind of it loses the charm.
Right.
I'm telling
Charm.
myself.
Okay, thank you.
This is what I kind of keep on telling myself because I do for the Girls Ensemble channel. I've been putting some content. I was inspired by you to do some reviews and things like that, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh no, it adds to the charm just to
Right.
make. I'm just too lazy to edit and do all that other things.
Oh,
Oh,
totally. I don't want to edit. I looked at some of these videos and there's like all this fancy editing and stuff, and I'm like, I just don't want to do it.
it takes away time from reading cool omnibuses and comic books that are out there. Do you know how many comic books that are out there that we
That
haven't
is a
read?
good point.
You know, it takes away
Valuable time.
from it, valuable time. Time's not free.
Yeah, man. So we both agreed that by the time we actually got done with this book, at, okay, so this is like the end of the book. I will as I show more, I'll bring my picture closer so you can see more. We had forgotten
Of
everything
course,
that happened in the beginning of the book, which was some really cool X-Men issues. Actually, let me see if I can do that. Does that help?
yeah, it helps a lot.
So these were some really cool X-Men issues that started out as uh, Vulcan, the brother guy, as Fariha calls him, the Summers brother who came out of the hideous, deadly Genesis story that I poured root beer on with Kristen the other day. Vulcan decides that he wants more power and more a kingdom, and he sets off for the Shi'ar Empire that he decides he's going to take control of, and the X-Men go after him.
Right. So we kind of have to explain what does a brother guy means.
Okay.
Just before this started, and just like, oh, are you ready? I'm like, Jess, I have no memory of what happened in this book, and it was like 2 weeks ago that I read it. But all I remember is that brother guy went from 0 to 100 or 0 to 1,000,000, and Jess is like, brother guy, like Vulcan. I'm like, yes, that guy.
Vulcan. So
Right. So
Vulcan,
yeah,
the lost Summers brother,
we're gonna call him brother guy.
yeah, brother guy. He takes off, and the X-Men have to go through various adventures to find a Stargate type crashing. I mean, Stargate utilizing spacecraft. And I thought that there were several. Let me see how many issues there were. Uncanny X-Men 475 through 486. And so that's a solid chunk of X-Men. Then there's X-Men Emperor Vulcan, X-Men Divided We Stand. So there was and then X-Men Kingbreaker. So I thought that was a solid chunk of X-Men issues, and I personally found them enjoyable. I think that's probably how we should do the review, is that we should just go ahead and talk about each arc.
Mhm.
They were after Vulcan. They had a ton. The art was really great in these X-Men issues. So they were after Vulcan. They had a wide variety of adventures involving the Starjammers and a Shi'ar warrior and all these other various people. And because they were trying to capture Vulcan before he actually got to Shi'ar.
And I'll be honest, even though I don't remember exactly page by page what happened. So here's the thing. When two of us are kind of in a different point in our life in terms of how experienced we are, in terms of the number of years that we have been on Earth, and both of us don't remember it. So that tells you something. It's not a matter of memory issue. It's a matter of the stories are kind of, I remember, even though I don't remember, I remember overall what happened.
Yeah.
And I remember enjoying reading that while I was while those things were happening. But if you ask me who said this to whom at what point and who drove what, who did what to get the plot forward, I won't be able to tell you.
Yeah. Well, Vulcan eventually does make it there, where he gets his butt kicked by.
See, yeah, you don't remember butt kicked by who?
No, it's that famous guy with the punk rock haircut, Magistrix. Let me think of his name. He's Praetor. He's the blue guy with the big mohawk thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember the blue guy. Don't remember his name. Don't remember what else he did.
Everybody out there knows his name.
Right.
Except us, because we're forgetting it.
Right.
Anyway, he's like the most powerful Shi'ar guy. We will call him Shi'ar guy.
Yeah, Shi'ar guy.
Yeah,
that guy.
That Praetor, the Magister. Anyway, the important thing I'm getting to is that they do capture him, Vulcan, and they put him in jail, where he escapes and hooks up with the sister right here, the sister of who is going to be the Empress of Shi'ar.
Right, and she is sister-in-law of Xavier.
Right.
And Xavier is married to
going to be, yeah.
Yeah, during Morrison's X-Men, New X-Men, I think, or just before that, he was married to Shi'ar Emperor. I don't remember her name. Don't ask me that name either.
She's this girl here.
Yeah, that lady.
Lilandra, Empress Lilandra.
That's right. The number of times her name was, she has that weird head.
They do have weirdly shaped heads. I will say, yeah.
Yeah, I do not care for that heads. Because I'm like, oh god, that's just gross. And then, so one thing I will say though, this is for the first time ever that I've seen this, where it's a lady emperor who is always getting called out for having married a human. Having married a lesser race, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
You always see that in men, men married a lesser race women, and getting called out for that. But in this case, so many times Professor X was called, oh, he's just her consort. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I was like, hey, stop it! Like it's like they reduced Professor X, like, oh yeah, that guy that Landra, like, used to have sex with. Like there was a lot of time that happens. I'm like, oh God, stop. Like, but anyway, um, yeah. So she gets involved. So there's like a lot of family drama that's going on. Then at one point, the Krees get involved, which is like the Inhumans, because Inhumans decide that they're gonna come back.
Oh, you're skipping way in front.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What things happen in the middle?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a whole love story where Lilandra gets overthrown and Vulcan and her sister take over.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That happened.
Yeah. And Vulcan starts the big war. He starts a war of attempting to, consolidate and take over as many worlds as he can. And so there is numerous, and this is still in Uncanny X-Men, where he started the war.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, we haven't even got to everything else yet, but
I'm gonna let you drive it, because then you can remind me.
Okay, so but then by right of blood and combat, by right of succession, he names himself Emperor Vulcan of the Shi'ar Empire.
Right.
And there's his main squeeze right there. Right. And so now he's the Emperor of Vulcan. He's an Earther, and yet he is Emperor Vulcan of the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, though, that he went from being just a slave to the Shi'ar Empire, right, to like rose all the way. I'm like, that is some pure, like, career move. Like, that's some massive career move that he just did there.
Right. So Havoc takes over the Starjammers. There's lots of Starjammer action, blah blah blah. Emperor Vulcan.
What's Starjammer? What is that?
That is where Havoc's dad was in charge of the Starjammers there, and then he gets killed and Havoc takes over. That is these guys right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's Havoc right there, and they play a big part in helping out a lot.
They just kind of stayed behind, though, because they all came from Earth to take care of this brother guy problem, and they kind of stayed.
The Starjammers are like an interstellar group that had Havoc's dad as their leader.
Right. No, I'm talking about Havoc and his group.
Oh, yeah. Havoc and the X-Men, right.
They stayed behind while Professor X went back to Earth, and whatever. Then his story kind of follows in Uncanny X-Men that was running at that time. But Havoc and them, they just kind of stayed behind, and then they kind of met up with Starjammer, and their story kind of follows that route. There's like a lot of subplots. I mean, there's a lot of groups over here and a lot of subplots going on.
That is the truth. We went from one group of people to another, to another, to another. We got exposed to pretty much all of Marvel's cosmic entities, we even got exposed to Ego the Living Planet. But we got exposed to a lot of stuff in this book.
Anyone that we didn't see or meet in Annihilation Conquest showed up here.
Yeah. That is exactly right.
And it just kind of follows from one. And then, honestly, though, I would say, like, other than Havoc, maybe, I was constantly just having to remind myself who these people are. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, it's that guy. Like, I only remember them by their character design.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, yeah, who are you? Like, so many times I'm like, who are they? It's just like, if one character went away and then another character took its place, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Well, and then we get the Inhumans to show up.
Right. That's when I skipped like 100 steps to win there. But okay, yeah.
Here are the Inhumans. Right now they're on the dark side of the moon. Or is that where they start up? The blue area, the moon's blue area. And
Your location together, Jess.
sorry,
I said like get your location together. Like
sorry. Um,
um so yeah, so we left Inhumans in the last book where they're just kind of recovering from secret invasion. Black Bolt was taken away, and
right.
then he comes back, and then there was a whole thing with the crystal being stolen by Quicksilver.
Flash. Right.
Quicksilver, and they were kind of at war with America. There was that storyline that just very quickly got dropped off. And then after Secret Invasion, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to Kree and we're gonna take over Kree because that's what we do.
And that is pretty much the decision that he has made.
Right. And then that's what they do. They arrive. They said that, hey, you, Crystal, or whatever her name is.
Crystal,
like,
yeah.
Crystal, you're going to be married to Ronan. Because why not? And, and then you're going to be like,
we're going to be a diplomatic move.
Right. Diplomatic move. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed the idea that the Crystal kind of becomes a people person. She was, because now that Vulcan is the king on this side, on the Sheer Empire, he decided that he's going to take over the Kree world, because why not? And he attacks. People are all in very terrible situation in the capital city of Hala, and then Crystal kind of rise up and then helps them to, heal and everything. So that was kind of cool.
Crystal played a big part in this book.
Right.
As the betrothed of Ronan, the accuser, she really rose up, and she had a meaty part in this book as a voice of reason.
Right.
Because Medusa was pretty much reduced to, as usual, just being the voice of her husband, Black Bolt. But Crystal really came through and was... as you say, she was really a fully fleshed out character in a lot of this book, in a lot of her appearances.
Like at the end of it, like that's what I'm saying. The brother guy, even though I couldn't remember his name, I remember his character. And then Crystal is like pretty much the two character that I actually remember what happened to them. Oh, and also Havoc. Like those three characters. Like I actually remember what happened to them as character. And everyone else, I'm like, if you say that, oh, it happened to this person, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then you're like, no, psych, it actually happened to this other character. I'll be like, sure, if you say so, yes. Like, they're all become very interchangeable.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And then, of course, there's, they continue to fight. The Kree who have given in to the invading Inhumans by way of the peaceful wedding of Crystal and Ronan, and they have agreed to fight for the Kree, as long as they let them take over the Kree world.
Which was wild, because by the way, Kree was left without so much of a government and everything after the Annihilation Conquest.
Right.
So this is like a follow-up of that. And it just wild how this alien works, because this other guy just came back and was like, hey, I'm going to be your king now. And my sister-in-law is going to be married to this other guy that was your king at some point, or was your caretaker at some point. And they're like, hurrah, that's okay. And then Vulcan did a wedding crashing. Like, that's what happened, because there's like their wedding was crashed by Vulcan's army. Which, by the way, we forgot to add the other subplot that Sheer are not very happy with the way Vulcan is leading. So there's like internal conflict. And then I'm like, oh my God, Amma, what's going on?
He's a bit of a mad dictator.
Right. Yes, by the way, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, this is how Game of Thrones is.
I saw season 1.
Right. So it becomes like this, like with subplots and plots of like everyone like stabbing everyone. Yes, it becomes that.
So there's constant infighting and trying to get it at Ronan. I'm sorry, trying to get at Vulcan, and okay, wait a
Then
sec.
Maximus created a bunch of like weapons where he weaponized Black Bolt's voice.
Right.
And then tries to send that out of the way. And then they're like, oh no, don't do that. Bring that back. And then that was another plot point. I'm like, oh, please.
Yeah, we haven't quite got to that point yet because Gladiator, that's the guy's name. The purple hair, the purple guy with the purple mohawk, Gladiator. Yeah, because we're coming up on the part of the book that almost made me quit the book, and that is War of Kings Darkhawk.
Oh,
which this was, I mean, we had excitement after excitement. They were going to weaponize Black Bolt's voice. We had Ronan. We had the Gladiator. We had Starjammers. We had Shi'ar versus Kree. We had everything going on. And then there was Darkhawk.
Like, Jess, listen, let's do this. Let's just have like 10 seconds of just silence because just to demonstrate how much we hated Darkhawk. Let's just do that.
It was really boring. Oh, it wasn't 10 seconds?
No.
Oh, sorry. I just couldn't keep quiet. It was
like, I know, because that's exactly what we just demonstrated. That's what it felt like reading that book. Like, that's what it was. Like, you're reading all this space opera, and then suddenly you're back on Earth for no reason, for 2 issues. And you were like,
was it only 2? It felt like 6.
Well, it was 2 at that point because you were like, who is this guy? Who? Like, you know, that from the Guardians of the Galaxy, Diamond Hanzu. I'm probably just butchered his name completely. You know how he's like, who? That was my reaction.
Oh yeah.
That was my reaction to that. I'm like, who is this? Why are we reading this? And then 2 issues after that, the real War of King kicks in. That was like the whole 6 issues of that, which was like nonstop, go. And then we come back to that guy's 4 more issue to wrap it up to show how he was important.
I've those of you out there that love Darkhawk in the 90s, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. No, don't give them no. We are judging you. We're judging you for liking Darkhawk. No.
It brought War of Kings to a screeching halt because it was super dull and barely had anything to do with anything until a little bit later, and it just sort of petered out when it finally did have something to do with the story, and it just petered out and was extreme.
Yeah, because the omnibus from up to that point was really well put together. The story was actually in sequence. War of King and the after, like those story that everything that happens after the War of King are not very well put together because you've already now read everything that happened in War of King and you don't give a shit about what's happening with those people.
That is a good point that we can talk about right now because up until this point, the book is mapped reasonably well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is where it starts to fall apart, and it feels like it's put together really willy-nilly, kind of poorly. Things are happening almost out of order, it feels like.
Right. And I kind of understand why they would want to do that because here's the thing, because the tie-ins don't make any difference. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't read them, it wouldn't change your view on these books, on the story. So I was thinking, okay, how would like to see those happen? But I couldn't because the thing is, none of that made any impact or made any difference. So if they were putting them in between the stories, it would actually make the story come to a halt, which would have been worst scenario. So this is what they did. The best they could do is like, okay, we're going to put the main story together and then put all the tie-ins at the end. And you're like, oh, why do I care? So bad. Darkhawk. Fucking Darkhawk. Like,
I totally agree.
no, that's not okay. That's not okay. Who is this guy? What's his deal? I don't care for him. Why is he
No,
here?
and it doesn't. I mean, and the Raptors and Talon and stuff. They eventually try and serve the bad guys, but then Darkhawk is fighting his inner bad guy and stuff, and it goes. Where the heck is it? It
Like
goes.
because it shows that they were secretly driving the plot of War of Kings in a lot of ways, which I'm like, no, hell no, I don't want that, because there's already two crazies there. There's already a guy who's driving the whole thing. Let that happen. Let that play out. I don't need this additional things, because that was also a thing, because they were trying to, fix up the destiny or something.
Right.
Like, it's like, what? No, stop it. Stop talking.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We definitely agree on that. Darkhawk was non-essential and definitely did not need to. Here's a pretty picture of Crystal in her wedding outfit.
Dress. I mean, that dress was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, based on her regular clothes of yellow.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, which I don't necessarily care for, because it's like her boobs areas are kind of all weird all the time, that you're like, stop. But that dress was really well done. But yeah, so I mean, no Darkhawk. Can we start some kind of campaign?
Yeah. What? No Darkhawk?
Yeah. Hashtag no Darkhawk.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm up for it. Yeah, Lou is up for it. We had a whole series. We had a whole Omnibus episode on no Darkhawk. I dunked him in root beer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. I approve of this. I approve of that.
Awesome.
Of that. Yeah, like, it's like, yeah, no Darkhawk. Like, if you. The thing is, though, why it has to be Darkhawk? Like, why it couldn't be, I don't know, Karnak from Inhuman? Like, anyone else? Like, take one of the established person and then just make them do it. I don't know. What was the point of it? I don't care for it.
I don't know.
Jess, you just put me in a sour mood now.
It's in the book. Don't blame me.
But you reminded me.
Well, this is part of the review.
It's true. That's true. So, you don't want to say how War of King ended, because that's a spoiler. You should go read it and figure it out. Everything that we said right now, that. If you read any stories, that how that's gonna go. But there's a lot of key points. There are a lot more characters, did a lot more things that we just didn't mention, and you should go and read it for yourself.
Oh, are we done with the review?
No, I was gonna go to the what happens next.
Oh yeah, are we done with how the war ends, and now we're talking about the tie-ins at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
So the war ends.
I mean, the war ends-ish.
The war ends-ish, and
right?
but it ends in such a powerful way. It creates a huge Herkin rift in time and space.
Oh my goodness! And that's what we need another omnibus to sort that out.
Well, it takes the rest of the omnibus
and some.
It takes that much more of the omnibus to figure it out, because that's how much more is left.
Did you think it was figured out? I didn't left with it like that shit was figured out.
Oh, wait, God, I just hit more Darkhawk. Just a second.
Move past it. Move past it.
I'm trying. Okay. Okay, then there's a friendship issue between a skull-face guy and a on the Son of Hulk world with an Inhuman. That was cool. I like that. I like that one. That was a good arc.
Yeah, that was a good arc. But here's the thing: why is it after War of Kings?
I don't know.
that because it happened before War of Kings. So when you're reading it, you're like, is this after, like, what's going on? Is this like you keep on thinking about it because some of the people involved in it are in different state right now. So you keep on thinking about it, so you don't pay attention. Then you're like, oh yeah, this should happen before War of Kings.
Wait a minute. What the heck? Okay. And so then we come up across, after that, we come across a huge knot of Nova issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like those Nova issues? Because Nova's depowered and dying.
Right.
And then he gets some from Quasar. He gets some the power bands, quantum bands, which turns him into like
new Quasar.
This guy, Quasar guy.
Yeah, the Quasar guy. We just have a lot of guys in this. Like
a lot of guys in this book.
Like other guys, this other guy we talked about, and then this guy. Yeah, well, the thing is though, I really enjoyed the series because I'm enjoying the Nova series, on its own.
Yeah.
Before where we left off Nova, I was excited to see where he's going with this. Why is this part of this book? Is my question.
It had virtually nothing to do with this story.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with War of King. And I'm like, what? Like, did he even go back to help them out in the war at all?
Let's see. There was a war. Let's see who was doing the killing. Just a sec. Okay, this is what's weird. It happened before the war was over. Way before the war was over.
Right. But
the Shi'ar, because purple hair Magister guy.
Oh yeah, that's the other guy we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, he kills. He and some of the other guys kill a bunch of Novas.
Right. So
this happens after the war's over.
Right. So the book placement is in such a weird position. So you question it. Why is it there? Then you realize, oh yeah, remember that thing that happened way before the war, and you forgot about it by the time you get there? That's why. But why is not that part of the, before the war?
I don't know. It's part of a huge Nova arc.
Arc. It just, yeah.
Yeah, and it deals with the world mind melding with Ego, the living planet, and how Nova is trying to separate the two because Ego, the living planet. Wait a minute. There's Vulcan. See, Vulcan's alive in this part of the story, and he's already been dead for 40 issues practically. Brother guy.
The brother guy. That's actually a spoiler, but also not spoiler because
that he's dead. Well, the war ends.
The war ends, but the thing is, no, that's not a spoiler because is he though? Dun 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 dun.
Dun dun dun. Okay, so Vulcan shows up long after he's supposed to not even be around anymore. So this is part of the mapping that we didn't like. I will say the Nova stories were interesting. As Nova stories, I liked them.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Why is it there is the question.
Yeah. It should be part of a different book. The Nova stories were all very interesting, and I dug them. They were cool.
And Guardians of the Galaxy stories.
Yeah, I'm getting to those. I liked those. Those were interesting. I'm still paging through a bunch of Nova.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of Nova stories in this.
Yeah, so the Nova story kind of is just closes up the arc of what's his name taking the
Richard Rider.
The Ego, the living planet, and world melding, and how they unmeld them, unstuck them, and how he takes back control of the Nova Corps.
Right. And it definitely didn't necessarily need to be in this book.
Right. But as a Nova story, mwah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, loved it. As a
Oh,
Nova story, loved it.
right. And then we get into Guardians of the Galaxy stories that
Once again, why is it there?
that have Vulcan and Inhumans showing up in them.
Right.
This is 600 pages later after the war is supposed to be over.
Right.
Invading the invading the place where Cosmo, I forget what it's called, the space station where Cosmo's located.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Exactly. Good pull. Very good.
Right.
So here's Black Bolt. What the heck? They're invading because they think I don't know. They take the fight there.
Because Guardians of the Galaxy, they just came. They're like, oh no, stop this war. You shouldn't be doing this war. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy. And we're going to protect you. Like, we don't want this war. And then Black Bolt is like, what now? Who are you? Like, Black Bolt has that who moment as who? Like, and then one thing I loved in this, because that's when I'm like, okay, the whole thing was worth it. It's like, I don't know, you probably didn't catch it, but it's like Cosmo is like lying down like this, and then Lockjaw is like looking up at him, and then Cosmo's like, are you God?
Yeah, I did see that. That was funny. I read that today, as a matter of fact.
I'm like, this whole 4 omnibus was completely worth it just so I could get to that point. Because that just warmed my heart, and now I want to see Cosmo and Lockjaw's adventure. Because Cosmo's just lying down because he was just hit so hard. He was just lying down and then Lockjaw is like licking him, and then he's like, are you God?
And so the whole book finishes with a giant arc of Guardians of the Galaxy trying to fix this huge hole that's been blown into the galaxy. And it's a huge time travel story involving several characters, including Adam Warlock, who we see in several iterations. We see them go back and forth to different times, different dimension days on the same day. They go to different places on the same day, and they age differently. They find different people on the same day. They're still trying to find the one way to close this particular hole. They've got to staple it onto an unused piece of reality.
Yeah, that was.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, that was because that's what one do when reality has a hole in it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I enjoyed those because I like the kind of science fiction-y aspect of the time reality things. And, Adam Warlock played a huge, a very huge part in it. And the art was a little cartoony for me. But it was still okay.
Right.
The story was good. The twists and turns in it was good. And I understand why it was. As opposed to Nova, I understand why this was in this book, because it dealt with the rip in time, and what happened to Adam Warlock, I believe, is going to be a big deal in the next book.
Right. So the thing is, like, I did like the fact that half of it was at the end where it was supposed to be, but the other half of it should be at the beginning, or should be during War of Kings or something, or should not just plain exist.
Yeah.
There's so later half, completely agree where they placed it, because it really takes place after War of Kings.
Right.
But
yeah,
the thing is,
it was weird.
The first half, why is it there? I'm just
right.
wondering.
So
But anyway.
yeah, so this book, definitely a mixed bag. I liked what I liked, and I hated what I hated. I only hated a little bit. I liked a lot of it, but but as you said, there's a lot of it that was weirdly placed in this thing that just seemed very odd. Once a certain part of the story was done, to have characters that were done already and then keep showing up throughout the book was just really weird.
Right. And the thing is, like, it just also kind of lets you, like, as a reader, though, because it doesn't let you stop to think about it, right? Because this book straight up should have ended in War of Kings. Like, end of War of Kings, where it ended, and you're like, oh, okay, now I have to digest it all and get to the next story, right? But
right.
No, it doesn't end there, because then it kind of goes back in the time, like, because all the things that happen in the tie-ins, then the Nova story that has nothing to do with it happens. A little bit of it happens in the beginning of time, but frankly, that wasn't needed. Like, that didn't need to happen there. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy, half of it should have been before, and the other half of it should be the beginning, or could have been the end. Like, maybe that should have been the beginning of the next book. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That, to me, I feel like it's like it kind of takes away the drama a little bit. Took away the drama a little bit. Not necessarily the fault of the story, but it's at the fault of whoever put the book together.
Right.
Like, for the mapping of it. And I think, like, it kind of takes away the tension and leaves you with a lot of like, okay, whatever. Get to the point. Like, But
yeah.
I mean, are you excited for the next phase?
No.
Oh.
I'm really not. You mean for Realm of Kings?
Yeah, for the Realm of Kings.
No, as of right now, no. I'm kind of a beaten man. I'm just like, it took a long time to read this book. Darkhawk affected me more than I realized, and these read-throughs of Omnis are exhausting.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, especially if you are just kind of reading it nonstop and not, like, breaking it up with anything. Oof.
Yeah, I'd like to take a couple week break before I start the next book.
100%. That's why we do it monthly or bi-monthly or, like, yearly even.
Yearly.
Like, I mean, I completely agree, because, oof, God, Darkhawk takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Like, and I am excited to see Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy story, though, because I feel like if those stories were not in the omnibus, I probably wouldn't be reading it.
Okay.
Because I feel like, oh, okay, this is where you left. Because why? You know why? I read Hickman's Fantastic Four. Because the Inhuman story kind of continues in Hickman's Fantastic Four, and I know what happens with them. So I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I'm
I didn't know that.
Yeah, remember? Like, do you like
I read Hickman's Fantastic Four.
Yeah, so everything to do with Inhumans that happens in there are continuation after Realm of Kings.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, well, now I'm excited.
Oh, okay.
I love the Inhumans. I didn't know there was going to be more of that.
Right. I mean, their resolution comes from that.
Oh.
Like, yeah. So it's just like, it's just the story of, like, whatever happened in Realm of Kings. Then we go on to the Fantastic Four.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, I'm still taking 2 weeks off.
No, yeah, no, 100%.
Maybe 3. Maybe August. Maybe I'll start in September.
Yeah, let's do it in September.
Okay, good.
We're gonna do this in September. So
okay, good.
Yeah, so I 100% agree. So yeah, so that story kind of continues. And to be honest, though, if the Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't there, I would have probably just bounced out.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad they're there then.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, and to be honest, though, after reading War of Kings, I'm like, I'm gonna keep this set, because I was kind of in the mood of like not keeping them, like not keeping the set. But after reading The War of Kings, I'm like, it's actually a good story.
Yeah, I liked a lot of it. I like 90% of it.
Yeah, except for Darkhawk. No, I mean, you have to kind of take 50% off for Darkhawk.
I liked a lot of it. The problem is that there was I think there was a lot of that mapping got to me at the end. A lot of
Right.
that weird mapping got to me. And
Exactly.
yeah, Darkhawk. I mean, I'm exaggerating how much it ruined it for me, but
God.
the mapping was an issue for me, and I thought that I do agree with you that it should have stopped after the War of Kings ended.
Right. Because I
But
think yeah, I know.
yeah,
But the thing is,
so
like, next Omnibus is actually just no, this is actually the fattest of them all.
this one was
Yeah, this is the fattest of them all. I mean, if you
okay.
see it over there, just look.
Yeah,
See that that's like the thickest compared to the other two. So
right.
the thing is, like, I feel like if they moved a bunch of stories to the other one, then we would be complaining about the other one.
Yeah.
That's really long. So I don't know. Yeah, but yeah. So we're gonna take some breaks, and then we're gonna come back.
Okay, fully refreshed and ready to take on Realm of Kings.
Realm of Kings. That's correct. So just like, I want to do a shameless plug though. If you want to see more of me and my reviews, I now have a channel, Fangirls Assemble, with my friend Kristen, and who's a regular on your show,
Yep.
on your channel. So you can find us at Fangirls Assemble. If you look up Fangirls Assemble Hellblazer, I think the first video shows up on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna also send the link, so if you don't mind adding it to the description.
Oh yeah, no, I'll put it in there.
Yeah, so we can, you can find more about it. So shameless plug time over.
Very good. I was going to ask you anyway, so
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I should have waited till you asked, so I don't
like
look
your
like
shameless plug better.
Yeah, right? Like, you should be shameless for plugging yourself.
No, I think it's great. And you can find me on this channel and OmniDog's Vault, and you can also find me on Twitter. Not Twitter. I hate Twitter. Instagram, OmniDogs_Vault. And thank you, Fariha, for being on. And peace and love. Peace and love.